There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the member show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, GuMPers.
Hey, bang that microphone, why don't you, as you make your entrance into the GMP all aboard the Algarve Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast with Mrs. M. You'll be delighted to hear on Valentine's Day. There she is. There she is. Hola, bon dia.
He didn't bury me into the patio. Isn't
that
good to know?
Yeah, despite those rumours that are going around, this day of all days, saying things like that, honestly. How are you, Mrs. M? Tudo bem?
Yeah, I'm very well. I've been up since 5:30, I think. Been doing lots of work and stuff.
May I be the first to say amote this morning? Did you like that?
Yeah, I did
In
actually.
Portuguese.
Yes.
Amote.
It's very nice.
Yes. Okay. Good morning, everybody. It is this.
Love
We
you
are.
too.
I think we need a bit more acoustic treatment in this room, and I need less forehead as well. God Almighty!
So
Look at
do
the size of that. Good morning, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day to you. It is love, compassion, and a dash of departure lounge. Bad planning. I'm going to mention death just once in this first half hour. Because it is the departure lounge day when Em Mamabear McGowan joins us on her Tuesday of the month. And of course, that's bad timing, it being Valentine's Day as well. So we'll have a love and sexy time, not literally, between now and 9 o'clock. And then we'll go over to...
Sorry, I'm cackling like a witch. Isn't that awful? Like laughing at like the connection between death and Valentine's Day.
What's that black cat doing in here? And a bubbling cauldron in the corner. I should have seen the signs before. Right, so yeah, let's get loved up in this first half hour.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and we have talking of love and death. Apparently, this is what happened to Saint Valentine. Roses are red, violets are blue. I was beaten with clubs, beheaded, thrown in a shallow grave, disinterred by my followers, and now you'll commemorate my martyrdom by giving each other chocolate. There he is, Saint Valentine. And the
chocolate.
What does that say on his scroll there? And the spiritual life of Christians
must now be conducted under the conditions of something.
Maybe. Here's a nice Valentine's meme that I saw last evening. That sounded very old-fashioned, didn't it? Last evening. Let me read this to you presently. Valentine's Day plan. Number 1, breakfast in bed. We had a cup of tea, didn't we? Number 2, chocolates. We haven't done that yet. Number 3, watch a movie. Could do. Dinner for 5 last night. Dinner for 2 then. Dinner for 2, number 4. Yeah. And number 5, regret eating 2 dinners. There you go. So that's
to be fair, it's like that when you're eating with kids, isn't it? Because they end up giving you all their stuff.
They do, and not necessarily the best bits. They cherry pick the best bits, don't they? Especially if you're having cherries, funny enough. You end up with all the leftovers. But if you ain't got no date, as Ice Cube once famously said on "You Can Do It, Put Your Back Into It," which seems like a thoroughly appropriate song today. If you ain't got no date, lots of love to you. Of course, love. Love is all you need. Love conquers all. This is a great day to remember. I mean, every day we should, and I think we do in some way, think about love here on the Good Morning Portugal show in its widest meaning and context. But obviously, it's good to have a special day to make sure we are remembering it, which is today. So let us know what's wrong with dying into love. Thank you, Facebook user. Okay, and Pete, good morning to you. We all have an early riser on Valentine's Day, Mrs. M.
That's true.
So
I think you did, didn't you?
Oh, all right. Okay, thank you very much. And we have T-Duck in the building as well. Thank you, T-Duck, for your look at this deep thought of the day. The people you love deserve to hear it. Love you, Mrs. M.
I love you too, darling.
So if you want to say that to anybody this morning, then go ahead. As Malanda Jean-Claude. Oh, yes, the language of love. If you want to say you love somebody or yourself or your pet, definitely pooch and pussy action this morning. If you want to show us your pussy or pooch, please do. I have got one myself. I've neglected to show little Peggy on her recent photo shoot at Grolier. Is that cool or is that cool?
Yeah.
Little Peggy
She
there.
does look quite cute though.
And she's a dog d'amour, isn't she? Because she was found under a rose bush.
She was,
Little Peggy, and
after a night of
rough love,
of
I
rough
think.
love.
Yeah, when then she had some puppies, didn't she? After that,
Yeah.
But not that we're suggesting that for anybody.
No.
This morning, Coach Turner. I wonder if he's going to be doing the old push-ups d'amour suggestion this morning.
Push-ups on your loved one.
Push-ups d'amour, yeah. If you've not heard, that's my favourite kind of gym. Definitely. Okay. T-Duck. Valentine's Day message. It's a Valentine's special, of course. So thoughtful, T-Duck. Melanda Jean-Claude, who we just heard from there, American author and poet. And T-Duck saying early doors, 8 o'clock this morning, Feliz Dia dos Namorados. That's what we call it here in Portugal. Portuguese saying of the day. Then would you like to do this in a sexy Portuguese accent? Well, I will then. Que nosso amor seja farol da luz na escuridão e uma fonte de alegria e conforto nos tempos difíceis. Desejando, I don't know if I can keep it up, as the Portuguese lover once said, desejando-lhe feliz dia de namorados.
I think it's something like, I was about to translate that.
Go on, then.
I was going to say, may your...
boffin.
well, no, it's just something to the effect of, can you be like a beacon of light and love or something like that?
Yes, absolutely.
In the difficult times.
Yes, and that's just general. That's beyond the romantic, isn't it?
Where's the actual translation?
I would say definitely that is so true, that we may our love. Go on, Mrs. Emmy.
May our love be a beacon of light in the darkness and a source of joy and comfort in difficult times. Wishing you a happy Valentine's Day.
Love is like sushi, though. Now you mentioned soy sauce there.
Well, it's a bit fishy.
Sometimes a bit salty, sometimes a bit fishy.
Sometimes you don't have enough of it.
Sometimes it makes your eyes water with the old wasabi, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a sushi of love. That's a really quite a good idea for a book there. Watch out for that.
What coffee table one? One you take into the toilet with you, that kind of thing.
It's so romantic.
Yeah.
Who knew then in Portugal, the lenço dos namorados. And we have an illustration here, and I will give due credit to the photographer here in just a moment. But who knew? Hugo Nuno, in Portugal, the lenço dos namorados is an important Valentine's Day tradition that dates back to the 16th and 17th centuries. Women wear beautiful embroidered handkerchiefs in order to attract. This is a part of, this whole tradition of dropping the handkerchief or just coyly hiding behind it. Do like that in a woman when she coyly hides behind her hanky.
So hang on a second. So a couple of things I want to point out here. First of all,
have you been triggered?
I'm pretty
a bit triggered.
No.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that when you were talking with
who was I talking to?
That gorgeous woman about Valentine's Day.
Who was that then? You'd think I'd remember that, wouldn't you?
Oh crikey, what's her name? She was beautiful. She's beautiful, and she's got lovely dark curly hair, and she's a writer, and she's amazing. She was on your show on Thursday last week.
I still don't know who you mean.
Showing us loads of chocolates.
Oh, Katia Lima.
That's
yeah,
it,
yeah,
Katia Lima.
Yeah.
Katia Lima was saying, well, we don't really have that many traditions in Portugal about Valentine's Day. I mean, to be fair, it's before her time in the 16th century, 17th century.
Said.
But here's the other thing. The women have to go to all this bother of making these hand embroidered beautiful little handkerchiefs.
Yeah.
Just so the guy, all he has to do is catch it.
Well, we haven't read to the end yet. Hold on a minute. You did get a bit triggered there.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
My sewing's not very good.
Right.
Mine would never look like that.
But your feminist politics are pretty hot.
I'm not really a feminist.
Right,
I just think, wow.
Let the ladies do all the work.
No, isn't it good to see, what a man's made of before you chuck your hand?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, hold on a minute, though, because there might be another part of this where the man has to go and get a dragon's head.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, which I recommend to all gentlemen.
Really?
Yes. I mean, it's difficult finding
What's that, the mother-in-law or something?
It has to be metaphorical these days, doesn't it? Because even though Owen was up in the Peneda Gerês, I don't think any dragons were spotted.
Right.
This is the sort of landscape where you might expect to see it. Look at that.
I love those.
Just diverging for a while away from the hanky. Look at the Pinar de Gerês and those terraces there.
Those terraces. Do you know what? They really remind me of Bali. Did I tell you I lived there?
You did mention before that you've been to Bali. Does everyone know that now, that Lisa once went to Bali?
No, I didn't. I lived there. I didn't go there.
You lived there, yeah.
But the terraces are gorgeous.
They are. Actually, there is some smoke in the landscape. There be dragons, so you can go and slay a dragon for your loved one. Although I suppose when all that was going on, it was before veganism, wasn't it, and animal rights. So even dragons, I guess, would come into that now. We're getting into some hot water.
Do you know what?
This morning,
I'd love to know what is the worst or the funniest Valentine's moment you've ever had. Let us know.
Do you have one of those?
I really do, and it's so embarrassing. For years, I don't even know if I've told you it because it's so embarrassing.
You're
but here I am.
Do you want to do it now?
Yeah. Okay. So I was about 13 or 14, and I used to be a reader of Jackie magazine for all of those Brits in the house that were teenagers when Jackie magazine was there. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
With the photo strips in them.
Yeah, like the photo strip comics.
If he loves me or not.
Just like that.
Yeah, every story. I wonder if he loves me or not.
And they had this offer, and you had to collect a load of vouchers in Jackie magazine or something, and then send them a couple of quid, and they would send a gold wrapped last Rolo to somebody that you're interested in.
Well, you better explain what a Rolo is as
well,
and why the last one's important.
Yeah, a Rolo. In the UK, there was this advertising campaign in the 80s and possibly in the 90s where there's this like tube of sweets, and they're like little kind of toffees wrapped in chocolate.
Stop it.
And the catchphrase was, I would give my last Rolo to you.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you give your last Rolo, you must obviously love somebody.
Exactly.
And so there was this guy at jiu-jitsu that I had a bit of a crush on.
The guy at jiu-jitsu?
Yeah. So I see him every week. Right. And I learnt his name.
Yes.
And I planned very, very carefully to send him my last Rolo. And so I found out his surname, and we used to have these yellow pages back then. I don't suppose they even have them now, but the yellow pages is where you
so
flick
much
through.
Explaining to do.
Yeah, where you flick this way, sort of like British.
Please don't make another cultural reference because we're going to be here all morning.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. All right. So I was looking up his name and address in the yellow pages from his surname, and so I got his surname, and I addressed this golden Rolo to him. Anyway, Valentine's Day was. It came and went. I didn't hear anything, and I thought that's really weird. And so I sent him a phone call, or I didn't send him. I made a phone call from the payphone at school just to say, I just want Paul to know that I'd give him my last Rolo any day. And this woman went nuts at me, and I couldn't work out what it was. And I'd actually sent a gold wrapped Rolo to this woman's husband. I'd got the wrong. The wrong surname. I think I must have spelt it wrong or something, or read it wrong. I think it was embroidered, funnily enough, on his belt from his jiu-jitsu costume. Yeah. And so I'd read it wrong, and thereby got the wrong address. And I'd been petitioning some kind of married man.
You could have caused you did.
Yeah, I did.
It caused terrible trouble.
And apparently he'd been away on business that week. I mean, she was really laying into me. And she's, he's been away, and you don't know what you've done, and blah blah blah. So yeah, I've not really done much romantically since then.
There's the advertising campaign which caused so much trouble on the screen. I'd give you my last Rolo anytime, especially today on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I was
Thank you for that story.
Well, I felt like such a wally. I was like 13 or 14.
I knew you were going to tell this story, and we've got them on the telephone line now, so that you can say sorry to them in person. From Kent this morning. So is it only me that smashed the like button then, Ian Turner? I have to leave early today as well, just to make sure to smash that like button.
Come on, I want to hear your embarrassing Valentine stories. You must have some. We all do.
I don't think I do.
Bet you do.
No, I hurt my back lifting up a sack of mail one year. It's not... And then I woke up.
No, it's just for your dad,
okay,
right?
Let's go. Yes, exactly. Oh my God, you don't want to be around my house on Valentine's Day. My dad wouldn't have looked forward to that. A bit like when I think it was Alex Higgins.
All these women catching up with
exactly. It's not. So for many people, what a lovely day. For others, for those Lotharios, is that what they're called?
Yeah.
A bit of a day to be out of town, possibly.
To go running.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So smash the like button, everybody, and let's go back to the hankies now. And
Yes, tell me more about these hankies. What do the men have to do?
We've triggered a defense of feminism as well this morning. I didn't mean it in any bad way.
I don't actually consider myself to be a feminist.
Okay, who knew then? We did this bit, didn't we? 16th, 17th century, women wear beautiful embroidered handkerchiefs in order to attract men in a very educated courtship. A very educated courtship indeed. The scarf was given to a suitor. If accepted, excuse me, he wore it. You made me laugh with that story, and now I'm coughing. He wore it on his coat, neck, or even on his hat. That's a jaunty look, isn't it? If not, it would be returned to the girl. The intricate.
Oh, could you imagine the shame of having your handkerchief returned to you?
Hence the Portuguese saying of getting your handkerchief returned, which there probably is. The intricate scarves with beautiful colours illustrate the love between the couples. In Braga, the tradition remains. So there you go. Up north, they're still doing that. Many people still give an embroidered scarf as a Valentine's Day gift. Reminds me of Along Came Polly, where's that very special handkerchief that her grandmother made or embroidered, and he ends up flushing it down the toilet and it blocks the toilet. Or you get given one of these and you have a sneezing fit and you blow your nose on it. It lends itself very well, I think, to comic opportunities, don't you think?
Yeah. Totally.
All right. And thank you so much then for that illustration to, who was it?
Who's talking about giving your girlfriend a quiche? I love the idea of that.
We will come back to that because that does sound interesting, doesn't it?
It sounds tasty.
The turistaprofesional.com for that illustration there. Beautiful. Very nice indeed. If you do see one of those at a car boot fair or in a shop, you will now know what. Why are you laughing? You'll now know what it is.
That's the kind of thing that you might do, like buy one and make it look like you've gone to all that effort.
My darling, here is a special Bragance.
That Maria in Braga made.
Yes, a long time
Spent hours making.
Oh, nice dad jokes as well. They are Valentine's Day jokes as well. Should we do them now because of that?
Okay.
What did the paperclip say to the magnet?
I don't know.
I find you very attractive. A girl asked me if I had a date for Valentine's Day. I said, yeah, it's the 14th. Okay. On Valentine's Day in France, don't forget to give your big girlfriend a big quiche. So did I say your big girlfriend? Girlfriend of any size.
Okay.
I meant to say big quiche, not big girlfriend. Shout out to all the big girlfriends this morning.
But do you know what? Like, that's not how they say kiss. That's how a Portuguese person might say quiche.
English people love quiche Lorraine, don't they? Especially if they're called Lorraine, I think. So thank you so much, T-Duck, for that excellent Valentine's material that we're sharing with you before you have to go this morning. Is he recommending the horizontal push-ups d'amour this morning? Bon dia, GuMPers. Thick fog here in Hertfordshire this morning, which is rare these days. Not a great day for driving. Here he is.
Hi guys, I'm Ian. And welcome to my office. So once a month or so, I catch up with Carl on the morning show and give you lots of tips to keep fit and healthy to allow you to enjoy growing old disgracefully. So that's me. Hope to see you soon. Ciao.
Right, hot tip from incoming.
Who doesn't like a hot tip first thing in the morning?
Absolutely, here he comes. Continuing the research theme. It's gone all academic. Okay, it's now clear that exercise is even more important as we age than when we're young. Funny that, isn't it? What a nice little irony is that, isn't it? When you've got all the energy, you don't necessarily need to do it.
The good news is that it's never too late to start. Sorry, that doesn't feel like good news to me. That just sounds like I've got to beat myself.
Shamed into exercise.
I need to fat shame myself for the rest of my life.
We just have to remember to start very gently. Oh, he is getting a bit sexy now, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
This is love advice. This is Valentine's.
You must also
stop if it hurts. Definitely.
And you must also have permission. A policy that you can apply to much in life. Yes, absolutely.
Exactly. Well said, everybody who took part in that. So is it only me that smashed the yeah. If that's the only exercise you get this morning, it's been worth it, isn't it? Smash the like button quite vigorously, folks. You might need to refresh. Is that what the actress said to the bishop? On Valentine's Day.
Come on, have we got any naughty stories coming in?
James has a date this morning. Look at this. He's got to leave early today for his appointment with
sexy.
It's nothing to do with social life. It's nothing to do with social life. He's going to get his number, I think, there.
It's
Very
gonna
good.
give the lady a number.
Yes. The length of Portugal. What's that? Is that
Is
someone's
that another
nickname?
tip for today?
Oh no! Look at this. To Ian, and T Duck has walked 391. I feel a song coming on. Since November. 629 kilometers, pretty much, yeah.
Oh.
Very good length of Portugal. Bairandi's fine. We didn't see him yesterday with the video, but here he is with his pal, who's doing much better. So we're great. We're really delighted to hear that. I had a super day in Aveda yesterday, and breakfast in bed from the kids this morning.
That's so nice.
Is that your
When
birthday?
are
Was
our
it your
kids gonna
birthday
do
then?
that?
Hold on a minute. Did I miss something there by Handy? But thank you so much for being here this morning. And I was concerned when I didn't get a video from you yesterday, but thank you for that picture. A message of love from Owen. Que todos os dias sejam repletos de amor, alegria e felicidade. So a joyful and happy day to all here this morning as well.
Yeah, what's Sijan?
I don't know. Bom dia. I haven't heard it on the telly yet, which is how I learned Portuguese. Bom dia, alegria a todos. House officially listed. Oh my word! It becomes more and more real each day. All the things going to contribute to my silence or absence most days. But today, I get to work and lurk. Nice one.
Work and lurk and enjoy.
Big news. The golden visa. I don't know if you want to hear this on Valentine's Day. This doesn't send out a message of love around the world, but the end of golden visas to be approved next Thursday.
Oh.
A story in the Portugal Resident, which I think is really controversial, which is why I mentioned it. Feliz dia dos namorados, in case you want to know what it is in Portuguese. Cheers, Pete. And this person here, excuse me, what's that repeating on me? Good morning, all. It's burps of love. Do you want one?
No, thanks.
Good morning, all. Good morning, all from Salvation Air Force, who distinguished themselves brilliantly yesterday, and they came back. They've come back for more this morning. So glad to see that. Look at Darren. He's very much in with the local colloquialisms, isn't he?
Yeah, he's kind of like...
He swallowed his bomb.
Yeah, he's completely swallowed the first part.
Heading to Manchester.
He doesn't like that either. Heading to Manchester Portuguese consulate again, getting passports stamped.
I thought you were still in Portugal. He doesn't mess about, does he?
No.
We all love an early riser, yes, of course.
We've done that already.
What's wrong with dying into love? Best way, best approach. Bom dia dos chuvos or Mon Carapacho. Oh, is that the rain heading this way?
Yeah.
That lady in the cafe was telling us that rain is forecast.
Really?
Like she could feel it in her water.
Yikes, I was hoping to go to the beach today.
It still might be possible. It might not be here this afternoon. Self-love to all. Well done, Darren. Yes, good sentiment. Good morning. Happy V-Day. Does she know something we don't? Is that V for Vendetta? Is it happening today?
Could be, couldn't it?
What with the alien invasion and everything? Which I don't appear
the latest distraction for everybody.
I don't seem to be taking that very seriously, do I? But there you go. Peter, I don't know what is that. A wave goodbye. We've already done handkerchiefs this morning. Bon dia.
I think that was for self-love, wasn't it?
Hold on a minute. It's changed from rain to cloud. In Mon Carapacho there.
Okay.
Just done a long weekend in Yorkshire with Mrs. H. Well, there's no need to make it sound so such hard work. But got out early for good behaviour. She'd hate me if I fed her yet another calorific dinner. Oh, yeah, fair enough. So that's already done. Good morning to you, Mr. and Mrs. Hughes. Mrs. M, you just reminded me of a colleague who, whilst a specialist in the history of wind instruments, shouldn't we all have a friend who's a specialist in the history of wind instruments? Perfect guest at a dinner party, right?
What, blowing a horn?
Yes. I was a little remiss in the title of this book, The Early Horn. Did they really write that book?
That's really
good.
good.
Academic masterpiece. May I take you back to the Elizabethan times and a little bit of early horn this morning? Soyuz sauce made in space by Russian astronauts. That's very good. And feminists is not a negative term. I hope I didn't convey that in any way.
I think I did in saying,
well, I'm not a feminist.
I don't identify with that.
Yeah, okay. Essentially, it is a position that all people should be treated fairly. Absolutely. And I think that's how it came up, wasn't it, this morning? That why should all the ladies do the work embroidering the handkerchiefs? Is that fair?
Yeah.
I ask you.
But, you know, it's like when I make a comment like that, the usual response is, "Ooh, get you feminist."
Yes, you can't win, can you?
No, exactly.
You say you are not, and then there's a little sense of defensiveness possibly here.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you say you are, and it's like, oh, okay, how many feminists does it take to change a light bulb? It's not funny, you know, that sort of thing. We get two, and again, no offense meant to anybody, especially on this day of all days. We get two love days in Wales. Valentine's Day.
Go on, pronounce this next word.
And the annual sheep festival. No, and Santis Tuchinen Day. Did you like that bit of I put in the middle of that?
Yeah, I don't know if that's how. I
Tuchinen
don't know
Day.
if,
I bet
if
it
that
is.
is how you do it.
So I get nookie twice a year.
Oh,
Doug,
Dougie,
Doug,
bless
it's not the
you.
70s anymore where one gets nookie. That's something that an uncle would say at a wedding, isn't it?
Yeah.
What are my chances of getting a bit of nookie here today? I wonder. I just fancy a drink. I just ordered 48 packs of Rolos online. They are sadly missing from the Lucky Dip chocolate machine. Did you really order Rolos online, Pete? You may well have done it, of course. Jackie magazine, which we featured on the screen, sounds a bit risque these days. It probably would be criticised, wouldn't it?
I'm sure it would be.
Michael Whitby is in. Bom dia, feliz
Hello.
dia dos namorados a todos. Nice one. In Liverpool, oh, careful. It was, if I had 2 rats, I'd give one. Oh, that's so rude to Liverpudlians. And I'd like to apologise on behalf of Michael's cultural insensitivity there. Michael, honestly. The Peneda Gerês National Park, now known as the Tibet of Portugal. And you can see that if we look at this photograph. On Valentine's Day, we are loving Portugal. We love Portugal every day on this show, and a special reason too, with this beautiful picture with the terracing, which is the Tibet of Portugal, the Peneda Gerês. It is dragons, wolves, anything you like up there. A couple of things we forgot yesterday. This came from Andy.
What's going on there?
I don't know.
What's happened to his nose?
I was thinking exactly the same thing. It does look a little bit inflamed, doesn't it? And excited.
It does look very excited.
And what are those people doing in the background there with their blue hats?
And their orange.
Strange situation.
They look like Oompa Loompas with their orange costumes.
Andy, what is this event? And can we still go to it, please? There's a bit of the.
And what are those? What are those wooden things for? Are they for beating people with?
I think you get a smack on the bottom with those, and I'm not joking.
And they can ring your bell as well.
You go along the street shaking your bells and your rump to alert people to your what could we call it?
Fertility,
state of
fecundity?
arousal. Yes, fertility, fecundity, state of arousal, and your
availability
ready for spring. And I think you tap
Yikes.
possible suitors on the bottom with a wooden paddle, which is now only done in a sort of formalized way like this, rather than just everyone doing that at any time in daily life, thankfully. But that looks interesting and was sent to us by Andy, who must be a fan of this festival, probably in the Bairrada district.
It's a bit of a kind of fairy festival.
There's a lot going on there, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, those masks, I mean, they look kind of animalistic.
Yep, and here are some men repairing the pavement afterwards.
After the party, after all that banging and shoving and pushing and grunting.
You would think so, wouldn't you? Some serious wear and tear on the calçadas. But this is a picture, I think, taken by Jean of a repair of. Sorry, that's a misleading.
That's from Faro, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, that guy's got Faro on his jacket.
Oh, Detective Munson. Check you out.
Yeah, I don't miss anything.
It is down in the south there. You're very observant.
I am, yeah.
Excellent stuff. Okay, so thank you for that picture as well. There, I think that was from Jean down there in the south, remarking upon the incredible work that those fellas do. Their knees must be shot by the.
Well, he was actually on
some knee pads.
Yeah, he had some knee pads on.
Good call.
Yeah, I saw that as
call.
well.
I might have to get some of those. I get down on my knees at any time today as an act of love. Luke was playing with electricity and shocked himself. I read this as he was playing with himself. First of all, I can't possibly read that out. Luke was. Is this from Star Wars? That lady looks like she's again from the British 70s and not a Star Wars character. But it is a Luke Skywalker meme. Luke, thank you for this, James. Luke was playing with electricity and shocked himself. I'll ground him until these are his parents, then presumably from the movie. I'll ground him until he learns to conduct himself properly.
Very good.
That is good, isn't it?
That's very clever.
The spark of love this morning here on Valentine's Day. I'm pressing all the wrong buttons, but we get there in the end.
It's all right. You'll get the right one eventually.
We do, as the actress said to the bishop. Okay, that was the same. That was the same as the last Rolo. What was that? You're digging a deeper hole there, Michael. We saw what you said about our Liverpudlian friends in the chat already.
You've got an explanation from Andy about the event. It's Carnival.
Of course it is. It has that ring to it, doesn't it? That debauched sense to it. Cardadores, our mythical characters of the Val de Illavor, and are unique in the world. Of course they are. Legend has it they appear in the streets as if from nowhere. Mm.
Well, that's kind of creepy. And no offense, but like they look a bit like they're gonna take you without your permission.
Okay. Well,
I think
it
doesn't look very consensual. It's what I'm saying.
No, okay, but you have to, it has to be seen with its historical
terrifying
context.
creatures.
And hopefully that threat to the human psyche is metaphorical. And we do need these archetypes around us, don't we, to remind us.
So that we know
what's what. Absolutely. Yeah. May every day, before we go to Mama
Sorry,
Bear,
I mean, like if somebody like tapped me on the bottom
with a paddle.
I think I'd be so shocked. I'd
Mr. Bombastic.
I'd turn around and knock him out.
Is that where the line "Mr. Bombastic, touch me on the bottom, call me Mr. Rude"? Is that what he says in that song?
Idea.
If someone could look those lyrics up, that would be great. Yes, the Tibet of Portugal. Thank you, Owen, who also says, "May every day be filled with love, joy, and happiness." Absolutely, no question about that. Well said. Bom dia a todos from Porto as well this morning. Porto. Morning, Jim. How you doing? And before we go to Em Mamabear McGowan, I'm going to surprise her with a question today because we're moving from love to compassion, and there are fewer more compassionate people on this planet than Em Mamabear McGowan, as you're about to find out in just a moment. Wearing an elaborate fancy mask and costume made, this is not Em Mamabear McGowan, this is the people that Andy was talking to. White sheepskin. That doubles up as a condom, I think, doesn't it, as well, possibly?
That's the sheep's gut, isn't it?
The openings for the eyes and mouths made with slices of cork painted red. The head is covered with long coloured ribbons. Yes, tradition requires that men, usually single, go out to the streets to cardar the ladies, but not let themselves be recognised.
See, I mean, that's creepy.
Yeah, but who are we to?
I realised I was getting a bit ahead of myself, saying, if somebody tapped me on the bum, I don't suppose anyone would be going after all the younger ones.
Not at all, Mrs. M. On that note, okay, folks. Well, and then you say, "How dare you?" And an 80-year-old guy takes his headdress off.
And then I realise I might actually.
On that note, okay, folks, gotta go. Create yourselves a magical and lovely day. Cheers, James. Have a good one. Yeah. Enjoy yourself. Who knows what might happen at Social Security?
Yeah, it could be love, couldn't it?
Yes.
Like, looking over the computer screen.
He's not letting it go. Of course, I love you. If I had 2 rats, I'd give you 1. And bon dia a todos as well from a Wayne. That would be, of course, as well. Carpe diem. Let's give her a nice big round of applause. And bring her onto the screen. There she is. Oh, look, there's some love going on there right now. Look at that 2 big grins on the screen.
Yes, that dog's really grinning.
Mama Bear.
Becky's always got lots of love for everyone. Thank you, Mr. B.
Really? Let me just zoom in here. Your pooch with you this one. Look at that.
Oh, that's such a smile of contentment.
Oh my goodness.
Your dog has got such great teeth as well.
Yeah,
if it was ours.
He says thank you. He says, "I am always smiling."
Yes. Yeah, with the older dogs, you do get a stench of decay sometimes, don't you? And a few brown ones, but that's life for an old dog, clearly. Sorry, what's your dog's name again?
Batty.
This is Batty, of course. Batty. Quite young, I think, judging by the
teeth.
Glare
the teeth look amazing.
No, he's 7.
Is he really?
Yikes.
7 years of age?
Yeah. Rescue dog from APAT.
Right.
Sending the love out to lots of rescue dogs, all looking for companions and some love and compassion this morning.
Look at that dog.
Batty does not care.
That is the best.
Who does Batty look like from the celebrity world?
What
do you think? An Osmond, one of the Osmonds.
I don't know.
Possibly. That is superb. Thank you so much. There, Mama Bear, for opening the batting with Batty there.
Yeah.
In such a, this is how to live, isn't it? If only humans could relax as well as that, right?
Yeah. Like completely in trust, like completely just let himself go.
I think if humans could be more like dogs, the world wouldn't be in such a crazy state. If anyone
was it running around licking each other and humping each other, and
that's not what I meant. I meant
It was
this
Valentine's Day.
on Valentine's Day, of course. How could you say that? This is just so beautiful, so ready to relax and take it easy, roll over and have your belly rubbed. That is my recommendation to everyone. Just before we talk to you, Mama Bear, and I wanted to speak of your beautiful beacon of compassion in central Portugal, your Creative Roots project. Train strike in Portugal as well, but only partially now, no extra time. And wonderful. Ain't it marvellous, says Darren. Wonderful. Train strikes in the UK again. Northern Rail are off my Valentine's list. Okay. Oh, superb. No one ever. Okay. Okay, so it's a joke the Scousers say about themselves there.
I did wonder if he was telling a joke, actually.
Yeah, okay. All right. I was just getting a little bit defensive there, wasn't I? Just in case there was going to be in case our mailbag was full for a different reason. So Mama Bear McGowan in Central Portugal at Creative Roots. You will have noticed, as it was pointed out to me, that we are doing our departure lounge on Valentine's Day. Not on the face of it, the best possible timing, right?
I think it's fantastic timing because
Go on. Why is that?
Well, it's a time to honour the things we love. We honour our ancestors. We can look back to those who were executed on this day, or there's 2 of them who were connected with Valentine, and they got made into saints. Before that, it was all about fertility. And the earliest Valentines was about celebrating fertility, where men got drunk, executed goats, and then beat the women with their hides. The women queued up apparently to get a bit of just because they wanted to be more fertile, and they thought that would happen if they got whacked with a goat hide.
So this is not what I meant when I said I wanted a kid. Sorry, that's a bad joke.
So yeah, it's all about honouring our ancestors, looking what was, looking what is now, sharing the love, and it's not just sharing the love with our partners. It's all about honouring our truth and our love. We can celebrate being single, and honour the love we have for our pets. He's loving me up this morning, like he's full of it. And so it's love in every calm down. It is love in every aspect. That's Elsa down underneath. She's showing some love for some ducks right now.
Well, takes all sorts.
Yeah. It's love on every level.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely right. And I would like to think that every day we have an opportunity to acknowledge and be loving here on the Good Morning Portugal show. And of course, it is the basic unit of life and of existence, isn't it? Love. So very good that we honor it even commercially today, and every day, as Owen said as well, and an extension of love, I suppose. Compassion, what might be love in action. And I wanted to ask you about your project, which I think is just a like you talk about walking the talk. Creative Roots is love in action, isn't it? You are opening up your love and compassion to people, to the world on the project that you oversee and have created there. Could you tell us more about it? On this special day. I think it's quite a good connection there.
Yeah, it's Creative Roots. It's all about returning to our roots, the roots of our truth and our own, honouring ourselves, and tuning into everything from our grief and our love for humanity, finding ways to connect with one another and connect with our planet and move forward. So,
and you, I mean, are you in the process of creating a community, would you say?
Yeah, I'm open to people to come and go as they please. You can drop in for an hour, drop in for a day. You can learn about different things. You can skill share. You can learn about permaculture, the whole cycle of life and death here. We've got everything from the ducklings to making sure we can try and live in a cyclical way. So we're following nature, we're following the seasons, and making sure that we can aim for zero waste. I teach humanure here as well, humanure composting. So everything from the, you know, it's just honouring everything that is in a honest way.
I think you were going to ask a question then, Mrs. M.
I was going to say, why
humanure, possibly.
You said it was spooky. I was going to say, why is that spooky?
Because it's a second mention of the what do we call it? The black gold. This week we were visiting a friend, weren't we, who was building a composting toilet on Sunday. The life we live, honestly. A friend in Tamar is building a composting toilet. And with a beautiful view, it has to be said.
A poo with the view.
A poo with the view. And it seems that composting toilets, when you can build one of these out in the countryside, actually the first time I came to Portugal to Tabua, at the what was it called, Quinta de Chibeias, the honeybee farm, which is a permacultural woofing site. The lavatory there was extraordinary, that looked out across the valley. And a little bit of, sorry if you're having your breakfast at the moment, but a little sprinkle of sawdust afterwards.
Yeah, let's hope you haven't got muesli.
And the
with little raisins in.
All right, can you stop? And we discovered, didn't we? Because somebody asked the question when we were having a little tour of this place on Sunday, about the separation of the brown and the yellow. Oh dear!
They shouldn't do the separation. It means that they're doing it wrong. We live in Portugal. Absolutely, we live in Portugal. You should be adding the brown and yellow together. They need to be together because compost needs liquid. So the microorganisms need it to swim. It needs to be a bit damp so they can swim through and do their thing to connect to really complete the full cycle. If you go on to Udemy, it's free. I'm not trying to push anything. Go on to Udemy, look up the Conscious Composter course. That is my course where I teach humanure composting for free as a gift to help people help themselves and the planet. Go on there, download your free ebook and learn how to do it properly instead of polluting the atmosphere and polluting the environment and polluting your water, underground water, you know. Learn how to do it properly and stop giving composting a humanure composting a bad name.
Okay, this is
Mamabear.
Hold on a minute.
No, I've got questions.
No, I've got to say this.
Go
I
on.
have really. This is coming out of me like a
poo with a view.
like it needs expressing. Okay, should it not be poo to me though? You see why I had to say that?
Yeah.
You see now? Okay. The link is
Where's
there.
that button?
This one. Thank you very much. I'm here all week. The Udemy.com user / Emily McGowan. There they are. All your courses, I think, they're on Udemy.
I've only got one, and that's it. But I wanted to do something and gift something to the world, and that seemed like the best way to do it.
Okay, well, and the Salvation Air Force, yes, you're right. It didn't take long to get from Valentine's back onto toilet paper and the B-Day topic. It's so true. Mrs. M, sorry, over to you. Sorry for interrupting.
No, I was just going to ask how long you've been doing it, because we were
Every
hoping.
day.
No, we were hoping to set up like composting area where we used to live in Devon, and we weren't able to do it really because we just couldn't get somewhere like private enough.
It does freak people out. I mean, you're quite right.
Yeah,
I think you've alluded to this, Em.
you know, we're quite comfortable with the thought of it. Obviously, we can't do it where we are right now because we're in a residential area with kind of a very small backyard. But
well,
like,
you can do it. It doesn't work like that, Mrs. M. You can do it anywhere. I mentor some communities in Africa. I mentor about 8 communities in Africa and help them learn how to do it and do it with the families and introduce it to the communities who are also scared of it, because people who do it wrong give it a bad name. If it smells, it's not being done correctly. It doesn't have to be outside. My compost toilet's in my tiny house, so obviously it best not smell. I live in under 10 meters square. You know, I used to have a compost toilet in my van, and I lived in a micro camper. People come to me and they say, how do I do it? And I help them fix the compost pile. I've been doing it since I lived at a HIMSA food, forest and permaculture project that I ran in Viseu. For few years ago. So if at any point you want to learn how to do it and how to bring it into your space, just give us a shout, and I'll let you know how.
I mean, there's so much waste that could be put to good use. I mean, we are composting in our backyard with like vegetable scraps, old chicken stuff, and all our old plants and whatnot, and any old cardboard that we find. I mean, pretty much anything that we can compost, we do. And it feels like we've run out of potential composting space. I mean,
you haven't. The thing is, if you need 1 meter square really for a compost pile, forget all the stuff that you see. If you use a 1 meter square using, say, pallet system, so it can breathe, and you fill that up, that will last about 18 months for a whole family or a little project or something. Any more than that, you're going to need 2. Or go up to 1.5 meter square.
See, one thing we can do
is that in terms of poo, or in terms of everything?
No, that's in time everything. So everything from your bones, your dead animals, anything that's compostable, everything goes into your pile. It's all on the go on.
Oh, she's frozen up there.
You need to know is there.
Okay. That's great, really great.
Thank you very much. Have I frozen?
It is Valentine's Day today. What an interesting angle we have on it today. Composting cadavers. I mean, it is a departure lounge, and we will be talking to Baida at 9:30, who's a doula of both a birth and death doula in the Algarve. Composting cadavers must be problematic, as when talking to the Venetian Bone Island curator, as you do, Pete, they said with all the preservatives people are eating, what used to take 1 year to break down now takes 20. That's so fascinating, isn't it? And do be careful with composting here in Portugal, as the heat in the compost can often cause spontaneous combustion and very dangerous in fire season. You might have to sprinkle in more ways than one on your compost.
Well, yeah, it's very important to use urine, and when you want to, you can pee on your pile, which is really helpful. But you can put a roof on, and when you've washed your pots, you can throw your water over there. It can't get too wet, and the way that you build it doesn't really combust. The issue is when people think they're composting and they use the term compost and they do it wrongly, then it isn't right, and it can be dangerous for the environment. And of course, we don't want to do that.
It puts people off as well, doesn't it? And this is so fascinating, because what we're dealing with here is perception, isn't it? And know-how. I guess there's two parts to this. We have been put off. I mean, we've only had toilets, haven't we, for about 200 years, maybe tops, in the sense of getting neurotic as Victorians and thinking, oh no, we must stop throwing this out of the top window onto the people below, which I agree with, right? That's not a good look. But that was all part of urbanization, wasn't it? And then we thought, so, okay, we've got all these people living together in squalor and slums. What do we do now? And the posh people were able to engineer a way of having it disappear, right? Magically, but not based on any natural principles, but based on their disgust and neurosis, right?
What you find when you look into things, including when you do the course, I'll show a picture in the ebook and talk through it. And what you find is today's modern version of doing it is still not cyclical. So instead of having the birth of the poo and the death of the poo and it going, and then being, going back into the earth and coming round until we eat it and digest. So instead of having that whole cycle, what we do is we just create pollution, and it goes out there and it just spreads. And that's because of the modern ways of doing things. We need to return to our roots, which is what I'm here about at Creative Roots. It's returning to cyclical ways, and remembering that everything in life, it is death, if we can convince Portugal to do the human composting for the bodies itself, we'd be really, really getting to bringing eco funerals and things back to Portugal, and in eco burials, really, because you can take your loved ones home and chuck them in the garden and grow a tree.
Wow. Okay.
Without setting them on fire.
Yes, yes, indeed, and that's true. I mean, these are turning. I guess it's when we went from cycles to straight lines, isn't it? In many ways, the human mind began to think rationally and in straight lines, and then we're paying the price for that in so many ways. I want to see Disney make a new Circle of Life film in the way that you describe. Disney could interpret that beautifully. I'd love the opening scene could be awesome.
Sorry,
for that.
I get the feeling they would
Okay. All right.
use the opportunity in a negative way.
Dick Whittington gave the gift of a 200-seater toilet to the people of London back in 1421. Pete, you are the ideal person to have in a pub quiz team, are you not? Surely you remember. I don't go quite that far, but I don't think I was living in London in 1421. I think it's somewhere. Deagle's in as well. Morning to you, Deagle. Bon dia, Carl and GuMPers from a mild 9-degree Belfast. Spent a few days in hospital. Asthma. What? Oh, Deagle, so sorry to hear that, mate. That your asthma hospitalised you. Been sick for 4 weeks, few days on strong meds. It will be grand. Look at him, ever the optimist. Good man. Lots of love to you on this special
recovery.
day. Yeah, absolutely. Our love to you, Deagle. Absolute pillar of the community where you live. I'm sure your voice and presence has been missed while you were hospitalised, and I'm very sorry to hear that. Antonio F. The toilet, a pot, a vase with a flush, was invented by a British, Thomas Crapper, right? I think in 1596. Okay, but still, I think we were pooing and weeing a long time before that and having different ways of disposing it, perhaps in a more sustainable way. Would you agree, Em?
No, I don't, because what happened was people they drop and go, a bit like dogs do, drop, go.
Oh, really?
And what you do is, apart from encouraging flies and things like that, it kind of pollutes the ground where we're at now. Although urine's quite good for pretty much most things, especially citrus trees, poo is not a very good thing to have lying about. And when people bury it in the ground thinking they're doing the world a favour, they're not. Poo carries all sorts of disease, and things like parasites and stuff like worms. Now, when you use the human manure method, it takes all the chemicals out, it takes all the medication out that we're putting in our bodies and things like that. It kills off all the parasites, and it means that when it does go back into the environment as compost, it's in a healthy way that honours and protects the environment instead. So when we use, say, a latrine system, what we're doing, because they move from drop and go to using a latrine, so drop it into a hole, that then just entered into the water, which is one of the big problems in Africa. Your poo goes into the ground, it gets carried up to 60 metres from where your latrine is, goes into all of your fruit and veg, through your veg gardens, into your water treatment systems, and basically poisons everything in that space, that whole diameter. So you've really got to be mindful about things, and people that process it and think that they're doing it right and then put it into there was a big almost like a plague thing in, I think it was Japan, because they were like using it as black gold at night, and they'd get it out and they'd slap it on the plants in the veg garden, and then they wondered why they all were ill, because it wasn't going through the process. So although it'd be lovely to think that we were originally a bit more sustainable, the truth is we weren't. The best, most sustainable we've ever been is when we turn them into
Jimmy seat here.
parcels and pop them on the fire, because at least when you turn them into like little fire logs, pardon the pun, that heats really well. And then that would have gone into the environment and not been as pollution wise as anything else.
Can I get this right then? Because often I look back thinking we had it right in previous times. Are you suggesting then that the latest humanuring technology is progressive and new, and that we are in an evolutionary process with it, and not many civilizations previously have got it right?
Yeah, I think for the last 30 or 40 years, we've started, all due to a guy who's an amazing guy. Hold on, where's the book?
He's here now.
Yeah, hold on. Human.
Batty just wants a bit of a cuddle, right? All this poo talk. It's all very well, you human beings. While you're doing, oh, hey, I can definitely.
There you go. His name's Joseph Jenkins.
Right.
Human Your Handbook in a Nutshell. This is his book, and this is where I got my teachings, and it's in many different languages, and it's how to do things properly. But if you want to learn for free, then go on and check out my course.
How long does it take to break down fully before you can use it? I know it's got to get to the right temperature. Is that right?
It all depends on the weather in your country or the weather in the area of your country that you're in. So for me, it'll take about 12 to 18 months here in central Portugal. And that's after it's all done. So after the pile gets at such a size where it's not going down anymore. So I've got virtually 1 meter square cube of it. And then I'll have to then make a second pile. So in about 12 to 18 months time, I will then make a second pile. And then that first pile, which contains the year to 18 months worth of stuff, organic matter, will then get to process for another 12 to 18 months before it's able to be used. It needs to be reach a height of between 50 to 70 degrees Celsius and remain at that temperature for at least, I think, 3 weeks before anything's completely killed off in it. So yeah, it's got to be done correctly, but yeah, that is the way forward.
Fascinating. I'd never have guessed we'd be having this conversation. To me, you and me, Mrs. M, with our interests in life and lifestyle, this is quite the perfect Valentine's morning, isn't it? But it's not. It is, I can, you know, clearly it's quite different to the normal sort of conversations people might be having, especially on Valentine's Day. But who knew that people would be so knowledgeable about this in our own community? So John Harrington invented the flush toilet. Sorry, I had to teach history A-level unit on health and public hygiene. They're interesting though, especially the palaces of poo, the Victorian sewage works. They really did bring a special contribution, didn't they, the Victorians, to this topic? And yes, topic, a hazelnut in every bite. The key to making good compost is the right level of humidity. You see, Garvo, maybe he's a lurker most mornings, but it only takes a specialist subject to lure him out. We flushed him out this morning, so to speak. The key to making good compost, he says, is the right level of humidity, oxygenation, ingredients, and activator. If you use human or animal waste, pathogens could be a problem if it doesn't get hot enough. Would you concur there, Em?
Well, I'm just slowly processing it. You see, it's got to be done correctly. Yeah. Otherwise, like I say, if oxygen does if it doesn't oxygenate, if it doesn't get to temperature, I mean, compost is human made. It's only humans can make it. Isn't made in nature. So it has to be done, and it has to get the three things to be able to actually go through the process and be what it needs to be, you know, to become, to transform. And then it's so useful. It can retain up to 10 times more water content than it ever would in the first place. General compost, you know, it's fantastic, magical stuff. It even, you know, all your diseased plants and stuff, it helps build up your immunity and your new plants from that as well. So it really is a thing. It's really important we learn to share the truth of composting. Yes. And the healthy ways of doing things, because when people do it wrong, they, apart from poison themselves and their environment, which I never approve of, they give people who do it right a bad name, and then people, it causes that divide. So as with anything in society, it's about education. And finding out the truth in things and finding the right way to do things, so that we can continue to share the love and improve things for the planet and each other.
Well said. Is a question from Deagle. What does the people who provide portable toilets or outdoor events do with their waste? Do they recycle it or something similar? I mean,
Gosh, they're
Glastonbury,
horrible,
for
aren't they,
example,
those
those
places?
portaloos.
It depends, because some of it does, like you can have like human manure composting on a community scale, on larger scales, and some do that. But I did used to do a lot of security and know people who did the waste, and they just take it to waste facilities to get rid of it that way, which is more chemicals and stuff, and the least we can, the more we can get rid of chemicals, the better.
I would
I'm
say
not
so.
a chemical person.
Shout out to the Boom Festival, because not far from you, of course, and Pete, the Boom Festival has won awards for being a very ecologically sensitive and progressive and well, excellent festival, basically, regarding its impact on the environment and nature. So well done. They do it there, I'm sure, at Boom, and they look into ways of doing it and being better, which is, I guess, the direction of travel. And we're joined by Baida now from the Algarve. Mama Bear, before we talk to Baida, is there any updates quickly? Because we do have a will writing special, don't we, with a contact of yours next month, which is very important. Any news on death cafes or the departure lounge type business this morning?
No.
Oh.
We're still here, and we're still, available if anyone wants to reach out at all. And today being Valentine's Day, it hits people. It's an anniversary to remember when people have lost those that we love. So don't feel like you have to be there alone. Just reach out, send us a message.
Best way to do that, Mama Bear.
We need to sort something out, so you can contact me on WhatsApp, but jump onto Share and Care on Facebook, and really do reach out, and we can just chat and just be with each other and be present.
Excellent. Well, lovely invitation. Thank you very much. And for anyone who was annoyed by the typo in the ticker tape, I've dealt with that. Central Portugal with a T. Now, a couple of quick comments before we welcome Baida, who's going to be a fascinating guest this morning. I'm sure of that. I wish people wouldn't make fun of my compost pile. It's biodegrading. Thank you. And I think I could get away with having a wee on the compost heap. However, other things may be a bit of a problem and cause a bit of a complaint. Especially if you're sat there reading the newspaper, Gary.
Gary, if you're filling your pile from the top, it's not centre feeding, so only pee. Not.
There you go, Gary. You've been told. Nice big round of applause now. And let's bring you onto the screen. Baida, good morning to you.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
Baida.
I'm good. How is everybody? Happy Valentine's.
Thank you. Igualmente, right back at you as well there. In the Algarve, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, and I imagine quite a few restaurants will be taking advantage of the Valentine's Day situation today in the Algarve, and love will be in the air in the Algarve. Is it nice? Is it a nice sunny day in the Algarve for such an event?
It's getting there. Bit of a slow start, but yeah.
Good. So tell us about yourself. Mama Bear finds us the most incredible people to speak to on the Good Morning Portugal show. I think you're one of them. We're talking to you about what it is to be a death doula, because this is our Departure Lounge monthly meetup. But you're also a birth doula as well, right? For those of people who are thinking, what is that? What is a doula? And what is a death doula? Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so I've been a birth doula for the last 10 years. And what a birth doula does is she basically supports families during the birth. It's a non-medical profession. However, we support people through the emotional process. We guide them through it. Think of it as a wedding planner. You would have a wedding planner for your wedding, and you would have somebody to help you plan things for your birth. So the idea is we don't decide for people what to do, but we give them as many options as possible and give them the opportunity to be empowered by the birth experience. And also, birth today has become an overly medicalized and quite unfortunately difficult process, and extremely disconnected from our, let's say, instinct. We are designed to birth, and we are able to do it in a very natural way, if possible, and if that's what we want. But I think we have to just give people the option to try whatever kind of birth they want, as long as they've got the information. But what tends to happen is people are pushed into a very medicalized birth, completely disconnected from their bodies, and they end up having really negative experiences at the end. And it's such a difficult start of parenting if that's how you start, the experience with the difficult birth. So the idea is to give the people the power back and autonomy over their own bodies, and give them options. And the same thing would be for death. You would like people to have the opportunity to birth in a gentle way, and also to be able to die, to exit the world in a gentle way. And there's so much fear, and there's so much worry when it comes to death. And I can understand, because nobody's died before, I suppose. And nobody who's living has died before. So we all have to do it for the first time, and it's quite unknown. But if we think of it as an experience that could be gentle, and the more we talk about it, the less we're going to have fear in regards to death. And having a death doula can hold your hand and walk you through the process, so that you don't have to do this alone. And sometimes it's easier, and often it's easier to speak to someone that's not family, that's not a loved one, that's somebody who's kind of a third party, that's not too involved, and be by your side to provide you all the information that you need, so that you don't do this alone.
How wonderful. What a lovely introduction to what you do.
Yeah.
And there's a theme here, isn't there, of returning to what's more natural and instinctual, if that's the right word, in much of our conversation this morning. And love, of course. This would be a loving way, wouldn't it not, to give birth and to pass on as well. So thank you for being here this morning. I'm sure we'll have questions for you. And I think Mrs. M was resonating strongly with all that you said just now, right, Mrs. M?
Yeah. One of my births got a little bit medicalized, and it took me a long time to recover. It wasn't terribly medicalized. When I hear about other people's experiences, I'm always like, oh my word. But I've had two very, very natural feeling births, and then one that I felt like there was a bit of interference, and my wishes weren't completely respected. And I think I can really see the gentleness and the purpose that you bring to these kinds of situations, both of you, Mamabear and Baida. I think it's amazing. We lost a friend last week, and so the idea of dying and dying beautifully and gracefully is really something that I really hope for myself. In that moment of birthing all three of my children, or our children, sorry, there is a feeling that I'm about to die. And that's when I know that it's, the baby's about to make an appearance, because it changes you. And I really want to be, I've been very happy that I've been present, like fully in my mind and in my body, as our babies are being born. And I wonder what it's like to be able to have a non-chemicalized or a non-medicalized passing. I think in the same way that we've brought our children through without chemicals, I'd really love to feel that we could pass, in full consciousness.
But we're so far away from that, aren't we?
I guess it really depends on, what people need. But if I could, I may change my mind. Lots of people, as they're coming to giving birth, they're like, no, give me drugs. Everyone has their limits and things. But I think it's an important conversation just to talk around. I think it's wonderful what you both do.
Which is exactly what we're doing this morning on the Departure Lounge, created here by Mamabear. We are so lucky to have you both here. Absolutely. And these are and it's an awkward comparison, but just like the humanuring composting we were talking about, it's kind of countercultural as well, isn't it? There are dominant narratives, and there are ways that people think, and our lives have become quite industrialized, generally speaking. So when you come up with quite a new idea or a new approach, which actually isn't necessarily
it's not new,
one,
is it?
No, but it
So
appears
it
new, or it appears to be a slap in the face to the direction of travel for the general culture.
Yeah,
it can be a little bit awkward or difficult, and that's why I think it's really important to have these conversations. Pete's, and this is a good example actually, talking about doulas in London, in central London, and I think doulas came into the common consciousness, didn't they, about sort of 10 or 20 years ago, and I think it was very much a London thing. It's a very amusing reference to the National Childbirth Trust there as the nipple police, I think. You're talking there, Pete, about a fashion, I think, and a craze. Doulas are so, it's just so much deeper than that, isn't it, Baida? And I think this is something you might have to encounter, being a professional in the way that you are, people's perception when it becomes a craze, and then after all of that has died down, what it's really about. So how is that? How is it not going against, but how is it being in a new culture in Portugal, and with these sorts of ideas that, when it's trendy and so on? How has it been for you? Creating yourself as a professional in this area, especially here in Portugal?
Yeah, well, it's for me relatively new. I've only been here just over 2 years, and
Right.
and it's I think the climate here, when it comes to birth and death, I think it's safe to say that it's overly medicalized, as opposed to back in the day when people would have home births and people would have home deaths as well. I think there's quite a lot of work to do, and there's fantastic people in the community, Portuguese and also foreigners living here, and they are really trying to change the birth and the death culture, and there's a lot of work around it. So I think the only way you can really reach people is to create a dialogue,
Yes.
and at the same time, talking about birth or death, we have to be very open-minded so that we don't shame people who choose to do it in a medicalized way, and to understand that everybody has their limitations. And often people have make certain choices based on the fact that they don't know any better. So just create the dialogue so that they know that they have the options. And then later on, whatever they decide, we always have to honor and respect their wishes. But as long as they're given the information, as long as whatever happens to them is based on informed consent. And that is the most important thing, because everybody deserves to have autonomy over their bodies.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Autonomy over their anatomy. Yeah, for sure.
Informed consent is a huge thing, isn't it? I think.
Oh, thank you so much for being here this morning. It's so true what you're saying, and this is what you're trying to do, of course, Mama Bear, isn't it? With the death cafes, and even this,
Well, everything. This is what Creative Roots about: informed consent. As I teach energy medicine, the one thing that I teach always in all my classes is informed consent, and that's important not just through being birthed and dying. It's important in every single moment of living.
Yes.
So informed consent and boundaries is such an important part of how to stay safe and how to respect yourself and others. And it's what we teach here, or what I teach through people who volunteer, people who stay. In anything that I do, I teach consent and boundaries work.
Could you say more about that? Could you say more about that? Because this idea of informed consent is coming at an interesting time in a world, it would appear, of quite feverish and polar opinions. They almost seem like the opposite, don't they? People want to get very, very quickly to an opinion or a judgment, and informed consent transcends that, doesn't it, and opens up the conversation rather than shuts it down. Is that an accurate sort of characterization?
Yeah, it is. It's important that when we give our consent, that we're fully informed in the first place, so we can make an educated decision, that we don't feel pushed into making a decision. As we've said, when we're scared, we can be forced into making a decision because we're scared and we don't know any better. We're doing it because we feel we have to. Maybe we're in the middle of giving birth and we've said one thing and people are taking over and doing everything else. We're trying to tune into our bodies, and then, wow, man, and it's all of a sudden our power's gone. Someone's took our power away because someone just forgot we existed, know. And it's the same with dying, exactly the same with the transition. And we instead of being the person, the soul who is going through the process, in all of a sudden that we're the person on the bed or the ill person, and because all of a sudden we're ill or we're sick or whatever, people forget that we exist. It's almost like when you go to someone in a wheelchair and you talk to the person who's pushing the wheelchair instead of the person of the wheelchair. It's like, because there's some kind of separation there instead of coming together and meeting each other as souls. So to be able to find a way where we can communicate, we need to learn to communicate better by looking, by listening, by feeling into ourselves and our situation, to educate ourselves in things. I call Batty the informed consent dog, the boundaries and consent dog, because if he doesn't want to be touched, he really makes known, you know. And it's the same in life. If only we had we were a bit more vocal about it, Batty will make sure, you know. But it's sometimes we're too scared as humans, where society can push us into staying silent. And it takes a lot of courage to speak our truth. It takes a lot of courage to say, this is me, this is how I'm experiencing life in this moment, and I'm not happy, you know, because you're scared. We're supposed to be polite. You know, there's all these things that we've got to get over, these belief systems that we've been conditioned to think's true. So we've got to get through our conditioning. So we've got to be able to open ourselves up to speak clearly, to be really open about what it is. So improve our communication skills. We want to be able to do things without being pushed into feeling scared. So we can be honest about things, and we're allowed to know that it's okay to change our minds, because we could be like completely drug free. Actually, I really want to change my mind right now. What can we do about that? You know, so we know it's okay to change our minds.
Well said, Mama Bear. On Valentine's Day, says Gary, we should not only appreciate the love of the living, but also those no longer with us. A celebration of their love seems fitting because they have touched our hearts in life. Well said, Gary. So, Baida, how do people work with you? It's going to sound like a godsend, I think, to many people, especially for, you see this, don't you, on social media, you know, people coming to Portugal and wanting to have a more sort of natural approach to childbirth, and thinking, can they get a more natural midwife? What the service you offer sounds fantastic as well. So how do people get in touch? And can you tell us more about the actual process?
In terms of finding a birth doula, the best thing that people could do is actually speak to as many doulas they need to speak to, and make a decision based on that click and that connection they might have with the birth doula. And same thing with the death doula as well. Finding a popular doula or finding someone that other people recommend is not enough. You have to find somebody that you feel really comfortable with. And one of the things I always used to say to my clients is, if you don't feel comfortable going to the toilet in front of me, do not hire me. So you really need
benchmark. Yes, well said.
Yes, you need to feel really comfortable to the point where you can just let your body do its thing. Yes. And so, yeah, it's important to speak to other doulas and find out who you connect with, who your partner connects with. That's also important.
Are there many in Portugal now? Many on the birth end?
There is quite a community, actually. Yes, a lot of Portuguese as well. A lot of,
that's good to know. So I imagine there wouldn't be, but I'm wrong with that, and I'm glad to say I'm wrong with that. So there's quite a network. How do people connect with the doula network in Portugal?
So there's a couple of Facebook groups for doulas. I've started one that incorporates the English speakers as well as the local Portuguese doulas. So it's called the Familia Doula, and there's other ways. There's also doulamatch.com. You can find the doulas there as well.
Okay. Yeah. That's wonderful. Well, great work on that. So how did you get into the, I'm going to call it the other end of life, being sort of rational and linear, but at that part of the circle, the passing, how did you get into that? How did you make your own sort of personal, professional transition from going from birth to death?
I would say probably aging.
Right. Okay. Right. Yes.
I think I just don't know. I've always been kind of drawn to death, and I also have supported a lot of family members during illness, and I just felt like this is such a special time to be there to support people that you care about. So it would be just amazing to be able to offer that service to other people who might feel alone or disconnected, or having a hard time going through illness, or even preparing. I mean, one of the best ways for people to prepare for death is when they're actually at their healthiest point in their life.
Yeah.
And when they're younger. Because when you make those decisions, you make them based on a clear mind without being pressured by time or illness. So it's always nice for people to have an idea of where they want to go and how their end of days will look like. And of course, later on, you can change the plan as things progress. But and also the organization that I studied with has taught us one thing that's really, really important. It says the best thing you can do for your loved ones is prepare for your death, because one, they don't have to deal with your death and make decisions towards your last period of your life and what comes after, and preparing for the funeral, etc. Once you put everything in place, you actually give them the opportunity to grieve without having to deal with everything.
Yeah.
So it will be the best gift for the dying to leave their families. So I think everybody should think about death, and it's one of these things that we don't talk enough about. And same thing with birth, because if you notice in communities, in tribes, in other cultures, and back in the day, people were born in a setting where everybody could witness, and die in a setting with a lot of people around them.
Yes.
And now there's quite a disconnect because we do everything at the hospital. So what happens is the younger people don't see birth and death. So when it comes for them to birth or die, they don't know how to do it, and they have a lot of fears relating to it. So we need to talk about it more because we don't see it often enough.
So true. It's fear of the unknown, isn't it? Or fear of the imagined as well. Because often, that's an interesting phrase, fear of the unknown, isn't it? We're afraid of what we think might happen, and our imagination goes in directions that would be quite educated if, like you say, if we were in a culture where communities weren't so atomized and everything was industrialized in hospital. And no disrespect to hospitals or those choices, but we're out of balance, I guess, is what we could say, with how things might be done. I would agree with Ronnie, who's here this morning, American in Portugal. Veronica, what an amazing woman. Talking about you, our guest this morning, Baida. Thank you so much, Mama Bear, for introducing us to Baida this morning. That conversation that one might have with the family, the best gift you can give your family, I think you put it, is to talk about your death. It's interesting because people coming to Portugal as foreigners, immigrants, expats, might have that conversation now, mightn't they? Because it is again, it's something we don't talk about. That's not for now. I'm enjoying myself. I've just arrived here with my new dream. I want to live here a long time. Talking about death at that stage might not seem especially enjoyable or useful, but it could be a useful part of the whole package of landing, right, as well, and then engaging with Baida at this stage. What would you say about that, Em?
I think when it comes to taking responsibility, we've talked about this many times before, when we take responsibility for ourselves and we get our shit in order, we are guaranteed to make our life more everything, more easy, more comfortable, more worth living. We reduce the stress, we take off the pressure, everything, like we've already got our stuff together, so when anything does happen, we're prepared. And all because we took 5-10 minutes to make a call, to connect with a doula, and get ourselves together to keep our get our wills written, get that kind of thing in order, get things in case we need a living will, and everything's prepared. Then we can just let go and just update things as and when, like our passwords and things. It's so important to take responsibility. And the more we take responsibility for ourselves, the less other people will have to do it on our behalf, and the stress that that causes other people, and the arguments that families go through because we don't get our shit in order. It's so important. And for Valentine's Day, think about it, the best gift you can gift your loved ones is to get your shit in order. How much love, you know, if you can just die without having to lie there. Imagine dying and having to listen to them all going on with themselves, arguing about what they want to do and who says what and do what and all that right on your deathbed, when all you want to do is die peacefully. And you could have prevented that by just connecting with a death doula like ourselves, and getting things in place so that they don't have to have that pressure, they don't have to carry that weight, they don't have to have those arguments, they don't have to have those crosswords, and you can have death surrounded by people who love you, that can concentrate on helping you pass peacefully. Yes. And helping you make that transition without that big heavy weight of it's mad, like seeing it, and I see it, and I'm sure you have now, over and over again, with people arguing over things that really shouldn't matter, when what you just want to do is just find some peace and try and concentrate on improving your quality of life in that day, in that moment, in that minute, and just like improving your, like lowering your pain and sorting out your management, improving your palliative care. Yes. All these things are totally what you need to focus on when you're dying, not like who's going to get what when you die, and who's getting what treatment, and who's paying for what, and what's happening with the house and the car and the bills and your passwords, and who's sorting out the electric bill. I mean, come on, some self-compassion.
That is a good
you can do for yourself.
Absolutely right. And Ronnie's agreeing with you. Really important advice, especially for expats. So it can be part of the whole package of discussion and awareness when moving country. We have Emiko Nakawara with us. Amazing topic by Baida as well. Agreed. Deagle saying birth and death, just two different parts of life. Both involve love and neither should be feared. Too many fear both instead of taking control and having a birth or death of your choice. Thank you, Deagle. Also Portuguese inheritance law is different than other countries. So when you write a will, you have the option of selecting your home country or here as the law to apply. Very important. Yes, we will come back.
And next month, our special guest, be here, join me and Carl next month, second Tuesday of the month. We have a will specialist who wrote a book on wills. So this is the place to be, not just today for Valentine's Day, where we're giving you all this love. You know, you are going to get so much like info and advice, and he is the guy to come to. So then this is what gift Carl can help help you.
This is what we'll do.
Portugal.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is what we'll do.
Another fantastic guest. So we'll have Nelson with us next month, and we'll probably start an initiative to encourage people to write their will and make sure. Mama Bear, she's all about getting her shit in order one way or another. It would appear this morning. Let's conclude with you, Baida, now. Thank you so much for being here and grasping the nettle, which I think you just do professionally anyway, don't you? You go to these areas of life that people don't generally talk about, but when they do, they find the most amazing gift. And I've got a real sense of that this morning. And you as well, Mama Bear, that's what you do too. An expat, a foreigner arriving and wanting to work with you, I think that's pretty straightforward. You described the birth doula end, but somebody, a complete stranger, funnily enough, who may suddenly discover that the end of their life is happening here in their dream home, a destination country. Can they just get in touch with you? I'm sure a lot of people would feel very happy to do that, given what you've said and how you are and your energy on the screen with us this morning. But can people just say, I want her to look after me, take care of my end of life process? Is that how it works? Is it as simple as that?
Yes, of course. It's simple.
What you do? Okay.
Yeah, they could just reach out, and then we could meet with them and see what their wishes are, and to see if we are the right match, like I mentioned earlier, is very important. And also to know exactly how they want to be supported. Everybody has their own ideas or how they would like to be loved towards the end of their days. So it's important that they know what they want, and we can give them the options and they decide if we're a good match for them. I could be reached on my Instagram or on my Facebook, Doula Baida. And Em is an amazing death doula and earth doula and everything doula. It'd be great to hear from them.
Okay. That's so wonderful. So Doula Baida is how people find you, right? So I need to put that on the screen. Let's just
also, on Share and Care, we're all part of Share and Care. So just tag you in a post or message through there as well.
Okay. And so if people were to
especially down the Algarve, because that's your area, isn't it? Really, your southern Portugal.
Exactly.
That's right, for Baida. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for being here. And Mama Bear, you dare us to have this conversation in a way every month, and I'm so glad you do. And you bring the most amazing people with you when you come. Baida, thank you so much for being. Lots of love to you and the Algarve, and all the best to you in the work that the remarkable work you're doing for people, especially in this context for the expats who are coming in, giving them that little bit more comfort and sense of security in life with all its ups and downs.
Thank you. Have a lovely day.
You too. Thank you very much for being here. I think it's just a nice note to end on, that sort of subtle sense of peace and love. So I'm just gonna leave it there this morning. And thank you both again, Mama Bear and Baida. And thank you everybody who's tuned in and stayed with us and had a conversation of this kind. And I'm going to make a big noise with the theme tune as we go out now. But take this with you. Take this lovely sense of love and peace that has been arrived at through this conversation this morning with my fantastic guest. All the very best to you. Have a superb Valentine's Day, and bye for now. I'll see you tonight or tomorrow on the show again in the morning. Have a lovely Valentine's Day. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, GuMPers.